We live in a time where proof is everything. We fact-check headlines. We demand receipts. We don't trust claims without evidence, unless they come from religion. Because somewhere along the way, the biggest claim in human history was given a free pass. That an invisible, all-powerful being created everything, watches everything, and judges everything. It's a claim that shapes wars, laws, and entire civilizations. But when you strip away the poetry, the rituals, and the fear, it's still a claim, and claims need evidence. If someone said they could cure every disease or control the weather, we'd ask for proof. But when someone says God did it, the proof disappears, and we're told to replace it with faith. Faith, the one word that excuses what nothing else can. We're told that doubt is dangerous, that questioning is rebellion. But maybe doubt isn't rebellion at all. Maybe it's honesty. Because when you apply the same logic you use in every other part of life to the idea of God, it falls apart. This video isn't about hate. It's about clarity. It's not about mocking belief. It's about asking the question most people avoid. Why do we believe something we'd never accept in any other context? So let's do what religion fears most. Let's think. Here are 14 reasons to question God's existence, based on logic, not faith. Reason number 1, contradictory gods. If there's truly one God, one ultimate truth, why does every culture tell a different story? Across history, humanity has worshipped thousands of gods. Zeus, Odin, Ra, Vishnu, Yahweh, each declared the one true God. Each with sacred texts, miracles, and believers ready to die or kill for them. They can't all be right. But here's the part most people miss. If you're Christian, you already reject every god except one. You're an atheist toward thousands of others, from Thor to Apollo to Quetzalcoatl. You already know what disbelief feels like. You've just stopped one god short. The problem isn't just numbers, it's contradiction. These gods give opposite commands, opposite creation stories, opposite morals. One bans pork, another demands it. One says the earth is 6,000 years old. Another describes cosmic cycles of rebirth. They can't all represent the same truth, and yet billions claim theirs does. If divine truth existed, we'd expect convergence. Instead, we see chaos, a map of belief shaped by geography, not evidence. Where you're born predicts your God better than your personal search for truth. A child in Saudi Arabia grows up certain that Allah is real. A child in Texas grows up certain that Jesus is. Both feel their conviction as truth, but both can't be right. Maybe neither is. Because when every religion insists it has the truth, and none can prove it, what you're seeing isn't revelation, it's competition. A contest of human imagination, culture, and power, not divine communication. If there truly were one God, humanity wouldn't need faith to find him. We'd all know. And yet, here we are, still arguing, still dividing, still guessing. That's not the mark of truth. That's the mark of human invention. Reason number 2, no evidence, just faith. In every other part of life, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. If someone said they could heal any disease, we'd demand medical trials. If someone claimed they could fly unaided, we'd ask them to show us, not just tell us. But when religion claims that an invisible being created the universe, hears our thoughts, and rules eternity, suddenly, proof becomes optional. The burden of evidence disappears, and in its place, we're told to have faith. Faith, the only concept that rewards belief without evidence and punishes doubt for asking questions. In any other context, that would sound like manipulation. But when spoken from a pulpit, it's called virtue. Let's be honest, there's not a single piece of verifiable evidence for the existence of any God. No measurable signal, no supernatural phenomenon that holds up under scrutiny. Every miracle fades under the light of investigation. Every divine sign can be explained by psychology, coincidence, or nature. What's left is testimony, stories told by people who believed before they ever questioned, and emotion, powerful, yes, but not proof. Faith works because it feels good. It offers comfort when logic feels cold. It replaces uncertainty with certainty, even if that certainty is false. But reality doesn't care what we find comforting. The universe isn't obligated to fit our hopes. If we accept faith as a substitute for evidence, we can justify anything, any god, any claim, any cruelty. Belief without proof isn't strength, it's surrender. Faith asks you to stop thinking right when thinking matters most. But the truth, the real truth, doesn't need blind devotion. It can handle your questions. It welcomes scrutiny. Because truth doesn't fear doubt, only lies do. Reason number 3. The problem of suffering. If God is loving, powerful, and just, why does the world look exactly like one ruled by chance? Every religion has tried to answer this, and all have failed. We're told suffering is a test, a lesson, a punishment, a mystery we're too small to understand. But think about that. If you saw a child drowning and did nothing, would anyone call you good? Yet the same silence from an all-powerful being is somehow called divine wisdom. Every day, earthquakes bury cities. Children are born with diseases that torture them until they die. Entire species suffer and go extinct. Long before humans ever existed, animals lived lives filled with pain, predation, and starvation. What purpose does that serve? No one is learning. No one is being tested. It's just suffering. Endless, indifferent suffering. If an all-loving God designed this system, he built it on cruelty. If he didn't, then nature, not divinity, explains it better. The simplest explanation is often the truest one. Suffering exists not because it's planned, but because it's possible, because the world runs on natural laws, not moral ones. Volcanoes erupt because of pressure, not sin. Viruses spread because of biology, not judgment. Children die not because of God's plan, but because of random, merciless chance. Religion tries to comfort us by saying, everything happens for a reason. But sometimes there is no reason, and pretending there is doesn't make the pain smaller, it just makes the lie bigger. If a God could stop the suffering of innocent beings and doesn't, he's not good. If he can't, he's not powerful. And if he doesn't exist, everything suddenly makes sense. Suffering isn't divine punishment. It's just the cost of existing in a universe that doesn't play favorites. Reason number 4. Science keeps replacing God. Every mystery used to have a god attached to it. When ancient people saw lightning, they imagined Zeus throwing bolts from the sky. When they got sick, they thought it was divine punishment. When the sun disappeared during an eclipse, they believed the heavens were angry. But each time humanity learned something new, the gods shrank. We discovered electricity, not Zeus. We found germs, not curses. We mapped the motion of planets, not omens from above. Science didn't just challenge religion, it replaced its job. It took the why questions that once belonged to priests and answered them with evidence. And every answer left less room for the divine. That's the pattern believers don't like to admit. The more we understand, the less we need gods. Thunder is pressure, not power. Disease is biology, not sin. Rainbows are light refraction, not promises. And yet, every generation invents a new god of the gaps. Whenever we reach the edge of knowledge, religion moves the goalposts, from mountains to clouds, from clouds to heaven, from heaven to the Big Bang itself. But ignorance isn't proof of divinity. It's just the next chapter of discovery. If history has taught us anything, it's this. The domain of God always ends where curiosity begins. Believers once said, only God can make life. Then came biology. Only God can shape worlds. Then came astronomy. Only God can create humans. Then came evolution. Every time, the same outcome. God retreated, and understanding advanced. Not because science disproves God directly, but because it doesn't need him. A universe explained by evidence doesn't require a supernatural author. And that's the quiet tragedy for religion. It keeps losing its purpose, one discovery at a time. The gods didn't die. They were replaced by truth. Reason number 5. The contradictory concept. Here's a problem no miracle can fix. God doesn't make sense. Believers describe him as all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good. But those three ideas can't exist together. They collapse under their own weight. If God is all-powerful, he can do anything, even create a stone so heavy he can't lift it. But if he can't lift it, he's not all-powerful. If he can, then he couldn't make something he can't lift. Again, not all-powerful. That's not a trick question. It's logic exposing a contradiction. If God is all-knowing, then he already knows everything, including the future. But if the future is already known, he can't change it. That means he's not free. And if even God isn't free, what does free will mean for us? Now, add morality to the mix. If God is perfectly good and all-powerful, why does evil exist? He either can't stop it, which means he's not all-powerful, or he chooses not to, which means he's not good. There's no third option. Religious thinkers have spent centuries twisting themselves into knots trying to solve this, inventing terms like mystery, free will defense, or divine plan. But those are just words to hide the cracks. A perfect, infinite being that creates imperfection isn't perfect. A moral lawgiver who creates evil isn't moral. A loving creator who designs a world full of suffering isn't loving. You can't fix a broken equation by calling it holy. These contradictions don't just challenge belief, they expose it as incoherent. If God existed, he'd have to break the laws of logic that make existence possible. And if your idea of perfection can't even exist logically, then it's not divine, it's imaginary. Faith says, God is beyond understanding. Reason says, that's exactly the problem. Reason number 6, faith follows geography. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your religion was probably chosen for you, by your birthplace, not by evidence. If you were born in Riyadh, you'd almost certainly be Muslim. In Rome, Catholic. In Delhi, Hindu. In Bangkok, Buddhist. In Salt Lake City, maybe Mormon. Billions of people believe what their parents believed, in the language their ancestors spoke, through rituals they never chose. It's not faith, it's inheritance. Now imagine flipping that script. If God were real and wanted everyone to know the truth, why would your odds of finding the right religion depend on your postal code? Truth shouldn't have borders. Gravity doesn't work only in Europe. Evolution doesn't stop at the equator, but belief does, and that's the problem. Every culture claims its faith is the one true revelation, yet all of them contradict each other. A Hindu doesn't think Jesus is the Son of God. A Christian doesn't believe in Vishnu. A Muslim doesn't think the Buddha reached enlightenment. Each rejects thousands of other gods and stops one short. If religion were based on evidence, we'd all arrive at the same conclusion. Instead, belief follows culture like an accent. It's taught, not discovered. That's why maps of religion look exactly like maps of empire, trade, and conquest. Faith doesn't spread through proof, it spreads through power, through family, through fear. And when believers say, "Everyone deep down knows my God is real," they're ignoring the obvious. Everyone says that about their God. The location of your birth shouldn't determine the fate of your soul, but in religion, it does. That's not divine truth. That's cultural conditioning dressed as revelation. Faith doesn't reveal the world's truth. It reveals the world's boundaries. Reason number 7, flawed scriptures. Every major religion claims its holy book is divine, perfect, timeless, untouchable. But the moment you actually read them, that illusion cracks. The Bible, the Quran, the Vedas, all supposedly words of God. Yet every one of them bears human fingerprints, contradictions, edits, rewrites, political agendas. The Bible wasn't written in one sitting by a single author. It was stitched together from dozens of sources across centuries, some poetic, some political, some plagiarized. It's been translated so many times that no two versions fully agree. Entire verses appear or disappear depending on which copy you read. The Quran, said to be perfectly preserved, was also collected after the Prophet's death, compiled by committees, standardized by rulers, and backed by military power to silence rivals. And the Vedas? They were oral chants long before they were ever written, evolving myths passed down through memory, not revelation. These aren't divine dictations. They're human collaborations. Worse, they contradict themselves constantly. Genesis gives 2 different creation orders. The Gospels can't agree on what Jesus said or when he died. The Quran praises peace in one verse and calls for violence in another. If these books came from an all-knowing deity, why do they read like ancient group projects gone wrong? Even morality shifts within their pages. The same texts that preach love and forgiveness also condone slavery, genocide, and misogyny, all in the name of God. Over time, believers have had to reinterpret these horrors, saying, that was the culture back then. But a perfect message shouldn't need updates. When we hold these texts up to historical scrutiny, they look less like divine revelation and more like human storytelling, edited, polished, and weaponized to control belief. The evidence doesn't show God writing through man. It shows men writing about gods and revising the story to suit their time. Reason, number 8, the silence of God. For a being who supposedly created the universe, God is suspiciously quiet. In ancient times, we're told he spoke through burning bushes, parted seas, and sent fire from the sky. Prophets heard his voice. Angels delivered his messages. Miracles filled the world. But the moment humanity invented cameras, telescopes, and audio recorders, he stopped talking. Isn't that strange? You'd think an all-powerful being who wants people to believe would leave undeniable evidence. Instead, he's silent, invisible, absent. Today, miracles have shrunk from seas, parting to, I found my car keys after praying. The grand spectacles vanished right when verification became possible. Ancient miracles always happened in the one era where no one could check. The Bible describes public, world-shaking events, yet not a single contemporary historian recorded them. No Egyptian text mentions plagues. No Roman archive notes the sky going dark when Jesus died. No one outside Scripture saw what supposedly changed all of history. Believers explain this silence by saying, faith is a test. But if God truly wanted a relationship with humanity, why hide behind mystery? Would a loving parent stay invisible and say, believe I exist, or you'll be punished forever? That's not love, that's manipulation. The silence of God is more than an emotional absence. It's empirical, no measurable sign, no verified miracle, no clear voice across millennia. Billions pray, but the world goes on the same. Storms hit churches and casinos alike. Disease takes the devout and the doubter equally. The silence isn't divine mystery. It's exactly what we'd expect in a universe without gods. And maybe that's the truth believers can't face, that the heavens are quiet because there's no one there to answer. Reason number 9, the scale of the universe. When ancient writers imagined creation, they pictured a tiny world, a flat earth beneath a sky dome, stars like lamps hung for decoration, and heaven just above the clouds. That made sense back then. But now we know the truth, and it's mind-bending. Earth isn't the center of anything. It's one planet orbiting one star, in one galaxy among 2 trillion others, each with billions of suns, each with planets spinning in silence. The observable universe stretches so far that light from its edges hasn't reached us, even after 13 billion years. So here's the question. If humans are God's special creation, why does the universe look so indifferent to us? Why fill endless galaxies with nothing but darkness, radiation, and silence just to put a handful of people on a microscopic rock in a forgotten corner of space? Ancient scripture said the stars were made to light the earth. But now we know most stars will never even be seen by human eyes. Their light will travel for eons, unseen, unneeded, unmentioned in any holy book. This isn't the blueprint of divine design. It's the signature of natural processes unfolding without intention. Religions shrank the cosmos to fit human ego. Science blew it open, and we disappeared in scale. The universe doesn't revolve around us. It never did. And if there's a creator out there, he's been hiding in an infinity too vast to make sense. Or maybe, just maybe, there's no one hiding at all. Only us, looking up, trying to find meaning in the stars that never once looked back. Reason number 10. Evolution makes design obsolete. For most of history, the complexity of life was seen as proof of a designer. The eye is too perfect to evolve, people said. The world is too organized to happen by chance. Then came Darwin, and everything changed. With one simple idea, he removed the need for divine craftsmanship. Natural selection. Small variations, passed down and tested by survival, could, over eons, sculpt wings, eyes, and minds, without a blueprint, without a god, without intention. It wasn't about chance. It was about process. And that process worked. We now have mountains of evidence, fossils, genetics, molecular biology, all showing one grand, connected tree of life. Every creature on Earth shares the same code, DNA, the same molecules, the same patterns, the same origins. No intelligent designer would need to reuse the same flawed template, the backwards human retina, the fragile spine, the birth canal that barely fits the child's head. Evolution explains those flaws perfectly. We're not designed, we're adapted. If the human body was built by an all-powerful being, why do we choke when food and air share one pipe? Why do we have wisdom teeth that don't fit our jaws, or an appendix that can kill us? These are not features of intelligent design, they're leftovers of evolution. Darwin didn't kill God, he just showed that we never needed one to explain life in the first place. The divine craftsman became redundant. Nature itself, patient, brutal, and astonishing, became the true sculptor. And once you understand that, the miracle of life doesn't disappear, it becomes more beautiful. Because it's not the product of magic, it's the masterpiece of reality itself. Reason number 11, the failure of prayer. Prayer is supposed to be the bridge between heaven and earth, a direct line to the divine. Believers claim it heals the sick, changes destiny, and even alters the laws of nature when faith is strong enough. But when tested, it fails. Every major study on intercessory prayer, from hospitals to controlled double-blind experiments, has found the same thing: no measurable effect. Patients prayed for recovery at the same rate as those who weren't. Wars still rage, despite millions praying for peace. Droughts don't end faster in countries with more believers. If prayer truly connected humans to a listening God, the evidence would be overwhelming. We'd see patterns, consistent, undeniable outcomes. Instead, what we see is silence. When someone recovers, it's called a miracle. When they don't, it's called God's mysterious plan. Heads, God wins. Tails, you misunderstood his will. That's not divine communication, that's confirmation bias. People also forget how prayer works across contradictions. Muslims pray toward Mecca. Christians pray, in Jesus' name. Hindus pray to dozens of gods. Millions of prayers cancel each other out every day, each one claiming the same exclusive truth. If there were a divine inbox for prayer, it would be chaos. And yet, people still pray, because it brings comfort, because it feels good, because silence is less painful when you fill it with hope. But hope is not evidence, and comfort is not proof. The failure of prayer doesn't mean people are foolish for trying, it just means no one is listening on the other end. Reason number 12, morality without God. Religions love to claim a monopoly on morality. Without God, they say, we'd all descend into chaos. No right, no wrong, just moral anarchy. But history tells a different story. The same scriptures that preach, love thy neighbor, also justify slavery, genocide, and the oppression of women. Entire civilizations used God's word to defend cruelty. Divine commands once permitted child brides, stoning for minor offenses, and holy wars. If morality truly came from heaven, why did it need centuries of human reform to improve it? The truth is uncomfortable. Our morality evolved, not from stone tablets, but from empathy, cooperation, and survival. Long before religion, humans already lived in groups. They learned that helping others meant the group survived. That kindness built trust. That cruelty destroyed communities. Moral instincts came first. Religion came later and claimed credit. You don't need commandments to know compassion matters. You don't need a deity to feel guilt after hurting someone. You don't need the threat of hell to choose kindness. In fact, many moral breakthroughs came against religion. Abolition of slavery, women's rights, LGBTQ acceptance, each opposed by churches at first, each achieved by people guided by conscience, not creed. We didn't abandon morality when we moved beyond religion. We purified it. We replaced, because God said so, with, because it's right. And that shift matters. Morality grounded in empathy and reason can adapt, grow, and include more people. Morality grounded in ancient texts can only repeat old mistakes. The real moral progress of humanity is proof that ethics don't fall from heaven, they rise from us. Reason number 13. The hiddenness problem. If God truly loves humanity and desires a relationship, why does he hide so well? Believers say he's everywhere, but nowhere you can actually verify. You can't see him, hear him, or measure his presence. You're just told to believe. Imagine a parent who hides from their child for life, leaving only vague notes and stories written by strangers, then punishes the child for doubting their existence. Would you call that loving or cruel? The hiddenness problem is simple but devastating. If God exists, and if he wants to be known, then his silence makes no sense. We're not talking about a shy deity. We're talking about an all-powerful being who supposedly created billions of people and then left them guessing. Children starve and pray for help. Atheists ask for a sign, just one undeniable proof. Mystics claim to see visions, but none can agree on what they saw. Every religion insists God revealed himself to them, and yet each describes him differently. A perfect communicator shouldn't need translators, prophets, or priests. Some apologists say God hides to preserve free will. But free will isn't threatened by evidence, only by control. You can know gravity exists and still choose to jump. Others say faith is the test. But what kind of loving creator tests devotion with silence? The truth is simpler. The silence fits perfectly with a world that has no divine voice. If an all-loving God truly wanted to be known, he'd be undeniable. He wouldn't whisper through contradictions. He'd speak clearly to everyone. The fact that he never has says more about reality than any sermon ever could. Reason number 14. The world makes sense without God. For thousands of years, God did it, was the answer to everything. Thunder, God's anger, disease, God's punishment, the stars, God's decoration for the night sky. But every mystery once filled by religion has slowly been explained by reality itself. Lightning turned out to be electricity. Disease, germs and biology. The stars, distant suns, governed by physics, not favor. Each time science advanced, another piece of the divine puzzle vanished, and what remained wasn't chaos, it was understanding. We don't need angels to explain gravity or miracles to explain medicine. We don't need divine will to describe evolution or consciousness. Natural explanations work reliably, predictably, beautifully. Reality runs on consistent laws. It doesn't glitch when someone sins or pause for prayer. It just works. The burden of proof isn't on those who doubt, it's on those who claim. If someone says an invisible, all-powerful being controls everything but hides all evidence, that's not humility, that's special pleading. No one says, I don't believe in unicorns, prove me wrong. We demand evidence for extraordinary claims everywhere else. Why make religion the one exception? And here's the twist. A world without God isn't empty, it's liberated. You're free to seek meaning, not inherit it. Free to build morality, not obey it blindly. Free to live fully, not in fear of eternal judgment. The universe doesn't need a caretaker. It's vast, self-sustaining, and awe-inspiring without divine supervision. The more we understand it, the less room there is for gods, and the more wonder there is for truth itself. Because when you stop needing magic to explain reality, you start seeing how miraculous reality already is. If you've made it this far, you've already done something most people never do. You questioned what you were told to never question. Doubt isn't rebellion, it's responsibility. It's the courage to look at the stories that shaped your world and ask, do they still make sense? The 14 reasons we explored: contradiction, silence, evolution, morality, logic, they all point to one simple truth. The world works without gods. And that's not depressing, it's empowering. Because if no one's pulling the strings, then we are the ones shaping meaning. If there's no divine judgment waiting after death, then this single, fragile life becomes infinitely precious. You don't need fear to live ethically. You don't need ancient laws to be kind. You don't need heaven to find purpose. You already have all of that, right here, right now. That's what atheism really is. Not anger, not arrogance. It's honesty. It's looking at the silence and saying, I'll fill it with truth, not fantasy. Every major leap humanity ever made, science, art, justice, human rights, began when someone dared to ask, what if they're wrong? So, if this video made you think, don't stop here. Keep questioning, keep reading, keep thinking. Because that's how every real revolution begins, not with belief, but with curiosity. If you found value in this, subscribe for more explorations into truth, history, and reason, and share it with someone still searching for answers, because ideas only grow when they're heard.